Hello and welcome. Thank you for checking out State of My Art Podcast, where I, Mike Liordi, chat with fellow creatives about their projects, message, and journey to give you some inspiration and ideas and a little entertainment. Week number 23, episode 23. I hang out with my new good friends Evan Galeano and Jon Alvarenga, aka Chef Jon. They have teamed up to create the most interesting cooking show on the internet, HighQuality Edibles. These guys grew up together pretty much as family, paisanos you might say. You might also consider them spring chickens, but don't let their age fool you. These guys have well exceeded their 10,000 hours. Chef Jon is a master chef who's worked in several high-end restaurants all over the country, and Evan has already picked up some awards for his captivating short films, music videos, branding videos. Anyways, they recently got their YouTube channel, HighQuality Edibles, off the ground, and it is out of this world. It has cool sketches and personality elements taking you into their story and what they're gonna make, followed by Chef Jon teaching you step by step how to create the finest THC infused food. And then they wrap it up with a short podcast alongside a special guest where they're all enjoying the edibles. It's all very well produced, educational, and fun. I definitely recommend checking out the first couple episodes. The links are in the description. My conversation with Evan Galeano and Chef Jon of HighQuality Edibles took place here in North Hollywood, California on January 9th, 2021. All right, boys, 11:11. We're really doing it. Welcome to the State of My Art Podcast. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for setting up all this production. Evan and Chef Jon. How do you pronounce your last name, Evan?
Galeano.
Galeano. Did I get it? It sounds Italian.
Originally.
You are Italian?
Yeah, like 4 generations back.
Same. I'm like 3.
Really?
Chef Jon, what's your last name?
It's not pronounced properly, but my last name is Alvarenga.
Alvarenga.
Yeah, but it's a Hispanic, so if you want to hit it with a Hispanic accent.
Sure.
I don't, because I am white. But, yeah, so I just say Alvarenga, but it's like Alvarenga.
Alvarenga.
Yeah, but I probably did that shitty, but.
Nailed it, man. Sounds good to me. Well, thanks again for being on, setting up all this production and lights. We got 3 mics with their own laptops for each freaking mic. What are these mics called? You guys brought these.
The HyperX
Quadcast S.
The HyperX Quadcast. Man, they should be paying us. Look at these. They light up. And you guys really wanted to use these, and I respect that. I know when you get a new toy, and it's sometimes inspiring. Chef Jon knows when you get that really expensive knife, it inspires the dish.
They're toys, man. They're toys.
Yeah, man. I mean, look at these lights.
Yes, yes. And we are here in North Hollywood at your guys' apartment in the lounge, which is also my girlfriend Sienna's apartment. You guys are her roommates, technically. Jon's here.
Technically.
Jon's your guys' personal chef at the apartment.
Sure.
And I have you guys on because you guys started a cool new YouTube channel called HighQuality Edibles. First episode came out last week. Congratulations. It's awesome.
Thank you, man.
I learned a lot. I really enjoyed it. You guys make THC edibles. Is that what you would call them? Weed edibles?
THC infused?
Yeah, infused I feel like is the proper term, but I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. To be quite honest. Yeah.
I think most people know what you're talking about when you say edibles.
Yeah,
I mean, our channel is called HighQuality Edibles.
Yeah, I guess I don't really need to explain that. But it's dope. Like, you guys should check it out, all the viewers. They show how to make the product from start to finish, and then they have a cool little powwow at the end as they try the edible. And that first episode is ice cream. So who doesn't love ice cream?
Yeah.
And the pistachio ice cream just looks so good.
Oh my God.
The first thing I said when you guys were trying it was, wait, so that was one scoop. Where's the rest of it?
Yeah.
I wanted to try it. But yeah, so basically what this podcast is, we'll let you guys elaborate on the episode and the channel more. And what this is kind of going through artists' journey, where you guys came from, what projects you're currently working on, and like what your message is and what you want to get out there with your projects. So Evan, we'll start with you. You're a filmmaker. I know that. You've known Sienna for a long time and had her act in your stuff, and it's high quality filming.
Thank you.
And photography as well, right?
photography as well.
Cool. So where did it all begin for you? When were you like, this is my calling?
Oh man, I don't know, man. I always loved movies since I was a kid. My dad kind of got me into that stuff. We would watch all the classics. He would show me, like, as I would grow up, he'd show me the old school. You gotta watch this, The Green Mile. You gotta watch The Shawshank Redemption. Love those prison classics. Movies, like those classic movies, freedom, and like, you know, all those different themes of the American. I don't know, American cinema, you know? Sure. And then I took a film class and I fell in love again, you know, with it. Like, and I realized, hey, wow, you can actually do this as a job. And I found, you know, you see the structure behind it, you see how people create it, and you're just
classes in like college or private class or
the first class I took was in junior year of high school.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I took the advanced film class also in high school. Did my own little short film, which is pretty far ahead of most kids still in high school.
Sure.
Most kids really don't even make their first short film until college.
Yeah.
And I was already kind of doing that. I was on the Good Morning John Burroughs thing, which was our high school's kind of like broadcast, like news station.
Cool.
We were always doing dumb, stupid stuff. And it just really always started with like doing dumb.
That was your high school?
Dumb humor.
John Burroughs?
Burroughs, yeah, Burbank. That's where we both went.
Burbank, sweet.
Yeah.
That's my train stop.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
That's how I get here.
And just from there, yeah, went into college and, you know, just kept going with it. And a lot of people give up on it. And I just kept saying, you know what? Hey, what's one more year of just going all at it?
For sure.
I mean, now I'm here. It's crazy, man. I've had a lot of failures, a lot of successes, but this feels like the most success I've had just being able to work on this show alone. It's a really cool idea, man. I'm really happy to be a part of it.
For sure. Yeah, it's a roller coaster ride, and it's crazy to see a lot of people with a lot of potential jump off. But yeah, you just, if you truly love it, you'll stick through it, and eventually you'll realize, like, man, I'm way better than I was like 5 years ago. Like, what was I thinking back then? And yeah, and plus technology with things like film and audio, it's like, wow, what we were using back then. I mean, I'm still using really old shit, but like, especially with film, you got to keep up to date and like.
Oh, it's moving fast.
Before you know it, it's gonna be
Faster
16K.
Yeah, it's already 8, you know. Yeah. But I mean, beyond that, man, I think that for me, like, filmmaking was always about more than just telling a story. You know, it was about like expressing yourself. And I was a really artsy kid, you know. Me and Jonathan grew up together, you know.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, like we knew each other since kindergarten.
Yeah, I think before kindergarten, honestly, yeah.
Because we were in the same.
Our parents went to the same church, and yeah, we had the same kindergarten class, and
that's awesome.
Been friends ever since. Yeah,
absolutely. And I've always looked at us like two different sides of the same coin.
Two different arts coming together for sure. Yeah. You see that on the episode.
Jonathan's always been kind of like the more right brain, very like math, like science, very like, you know, just really good with numbers and memory and all of that. And I'm the opposite. Terrible with all that memory. I'm not terrible.
But it's not like you're strong.
It's not my strong suit. It's more the creative side, more like the finding solutions to things through just creative solutions, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I did after college a lot. You know, I went on to do not just music videos, but then like I started a business. And I got, you know, really bumpy. It started, it failed. A few months later, I tried it again.
What was the first business? Just like freelance filming?
So yeah, I went from freelance filming for like, I used to shoot for like this company called Galeano. Okay. And they would take me and basically I would shoot for people like just any musicians around LA, but then sometimes I would get crazy gigs. Like I shot for Slash from Guns N' Roses.
Oh shit.
At the Whiskey A Go-Go, and I met Post Malone. Like, and that just, it's like crazy, dude. The film industry, like that alone was a crazy night I could tell you all about later. But I went from there to doing music videos with them. And then at the same time, I was starting to kind of, you know, get a name for myself in like the indie music video industry, at least as far as that company was concerned. All these little indie artists.
Sweet. And
then I started to kind of branch into like marketing, like strategy and all that stuff. I built a business called Brand Story.
What's that about?
Brand Story was about telling people stories and interviewing them. Okay. And digging into like the heart behind their business and why it, like, you know, so like interviewing the customers and interviewing this. And I started working with people who were just like, you know, really, really just like big in like the inspirational speaking industries and all these different industries and stuff where just like they had crazy cool stories to tell. But I always knew, like, really, I don't know. It was like, as I was building it, it was like destined for failure. I was working myself into the ground. I had a really bad burnout last year around like December 2019.
I was gonna say, man, if, like even doing this podcast, time flies when you're in front of that premiere, and before you know it, like especially with like a YouTube channel, the thing is like to keep pumping out content and keep putting out something like every week at least. And it's exhausting, man.
Well, I mean, if anyone knows here about this, it's Jonathan, because I don't know how you've worked the hours that you said you have. I mean, he worked 3 jobs.
I mean, it's really just, you got to do it, you know? If you want to do something, you want to do something.
And if you enjoy it, it doesn't feel like work. I always say that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I guess for me, I things grew out of control to the point where I didn't have enough of a team to help me with so many tasks that everything just started like too many plates. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you have all these actual paid shoots. You know, you have things in writing and you have to be there, and when things start to just crash and burn, you have a burnout, really bad situation. And not only that, but in my family life as well. I mean, we both talked about it, like the ending of like going into 2020, we were both at our low, at the lowest of the low.
Wow. And then COVID hit, and it kind of hit pause for you, I guess.
Exactly, man. Yeah, it was.
For me, it was honestly a good thing, to be quite honest.
I mean, as far as mental health is concerned, it gave me a lot of time to kind of just breathe. You know?
Found this new place finally, and you got your
eventually.
YouTube channel off the ground. Do you think those two things would have happened had it not been for the pandemic, or would you just still be spinning the tires?
I mean, you just know.
Honestly, I don't think it would have happened if the pandemic didn't happen.
That's true.
It's interesting.
Yeah. That is true.
I
don't know if we would have kicked it. I don't know if we would have.
We probably would have kicked it.
But
probably wouldn't have gone forward with it as much
because we just wouldn't have had the time.
Yeah, we wouldn't have
been employed.
Yeah, exactly.
We would have been answering everyone else's calls, putting out fires. I feel it. I mean, I say that about this podcast too. Like, this is like, me doing me on camera, because I have so many conversations with other creatives all the time, and I'm always like, man, I wish I can like have a platform to put this out. So that's what this finally is. It's created a lot more work, but if it wasn't for the pandemic, I probably would have never, hit record and done it and started editing it. And I still, don't really believe that I'm ready, but the saying is start before you're ready. And I like gained a lot of education during this downtime too. Whereas before this, I was like, trying to get my feet planted in Southern California. And in doing so, I joined another band, was going on tour, playing all these shows. And I was like, man, I'm not even like doing my one-man music as much as I used to when I was like, stuck at home booking my own tours. That got overwhelming too. So I feel you on the like burnout thing. And it's been kind of nice to be like, what about trying this and getting good at this? And I mean, we're in a storytelling generation, and I feel like, okay, so the saying is that it went from a data generation to a story generation. And I feel like we're in this crazy time where we're evolving into a conversation generation, which stems from a story generation.
Yeah.
But like, so many of my friends won't listen to a 3-minute song anymore, but they'll listen to a 2-hour podcast. And I don't know if that just comes from getting older. Like maybe the boomers were like, I no longer listen to my Led Zeppelin albums, but I'll put on the radio for 2 hours. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like everybody, even young kids, are listening to all these podcasts and getting very influenced by them and inspired by them. That's my goal, is to just inspire someone to do what they want to do and have different, all different sort of artists, which I guess we can segue to Chef Jon, who I just met New Year's Eve, pretty much.
I think around New Year's Eve.
A couple days before New Year's Eve, maybe.
Yeah.
And dude, very talented, and in a totally, like Evan said, a totally different form of expertise. Even obviously, it's a different art: food, music, film. But you are, like Evan said, very right brain, measurement, exact, and you have to be for that
all
art.
by the book. The only thing that makes sense to me is numbers. So it's like literally like, if I don't see something in a number, it doesn't make sense to me. That's why like pastry is perfect, because it's all science.
Yep.
It's all, like an acid and a liquid are gonna create oxygen, and everything just really is science based. Everything's really math based, and that's just how my brain works. I'm creative also, but like nothing makes more sense to me than like facts, and numbers don't lie. That's That's what I always say.
And you're natural on camera. Check out episode 1. Chef Jon is just killing it.
For real, man.
In the
Honestly.
podcast
I don't
portion.
know. I'm still like super embarrassed, and I hate showing people just because like I'm not used to it, and like every time I hear my voice, I'm like, damn, like I hate that person, and it's just like I don't know, it's just like my insecurity.
That's that.
You're good at it. It's imposter syndrome. We all have it.
Imposter syndrome we all have. Yeah, I've had it.
But like, I feel like when I was watching, I was like, this dude's nailing it because he's seen so many people try and pull this off or do a good job. And that's 90% of why I am looked at as a good musician by a lot of people is all I'm doing is watching my heroes and listening to my heroes. And I'm like, all right, I think I know what to do. And then, yeah, after I play a show, I'm like, fuck, I wish I had said something else or I wish I had done something else. You get that.
Yeah.
But all your friends at the show are like, dude, I didn't know you could do that. Like, how did you learn that? And that was like your first episode, so it's only up from here.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of food, like I can literally just make anything. You know, like I'm pretty confident that with the right tools, like I can literally make anything. And then infusing it, it's really just about if there's a fat that I can infuse. So yeah, almost everything has a fat in it, like some sort of fat, whether it's oil, butter, milk, cream.
Okay.
So the infusing part, that's honestly easy. Yeah. And then the actual cooking part, I've been doing it for so long that it's like kind of second nature.
You do it by the book. You have a system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, by the book. It's really like you follow the recipe and it's always going to turn out good.
And then like, you know, every oven is going to be slightly different. And that was your one like, your one thing in the video where you're like, I wish I didn't make them that crispy. What was it, the strawberries?
It was actually the weed in the decarboxylation stage. Yeah.
So cooking the actual weed.
Yeah, I mean, that's really just where technique comes from. And that's, since I've had so much experience, you kind of like, ovens all have different hot spots. Mm-hmm. Whereas like even stoves, you know, some burners are going to be stronger than the others. Yeah. So that's all, you just got to play it by like ear, I guess, in a sense. But like you just got to like look at it. The feel of the thickness, like the creaminess, like everything really has an effect. So you kind of just got to like pay attention. And I don't know. It's
impressive, dude. So let's go way back. When were you finally like, food's my thing?
Honestly, my story of how I got into culinary is actually super funny and weird. So I never thought I was going to get into culinary. My entire life I studied psychology. Whole life since I was like 6 years old, I was always like, I'm going to be a psych major. I know exactly what I'm going to do. And then...
maybe that's why you're such a natural on the camera. You know what people want to hear.
That could honestly be it. I don't know. but no, so in high school, maybe around like senior year, I got bored one day and I was like, you know, I'm going to make some brownies. You know, I was already smoking weed. I was hungry. There was a box of brownie mix. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to just do regular brownies. So I just literally just slapped some peanut butter in between the layers of like batter. And then I put some peanut butter and I was like, you know, I'm going to get wild, put some Nutella. Threw some Nutella on, threw the rest of the brownie mix. And I was like, I'm going to bring some to school, you know, give some to people. And I remember like giving it to people and they were all just like, yo, this is amazing. And like a huge smile on their face. And I was like, wow, this is a great feeling, you know? Like, I just made food.
What grade is this?
I would say junior, like 11th grade. Yeah, and I remember just, like, giving it to people, and everyone was, like, super happy and, like, hyped. And I was like, damn. And then senior year came around, and I started applying for colleges. And I was a cocky son of a bitch, again, since I'm, like, so, like,
we all were when we were 17, 18.
Yeah, I did, like, super well in high school, and I was like, you know, I'm only going to apply to three colleges. Harvard, Yale, and fucking... UC fucking Berkeley, and I was like, you know, I'm just gonna get in all three of them, you know, easy. And then I didn't get in any of them, and I was just like shocked, and I was like, what the fuck? But I had applied to one other school, and they actually gave me a pretty big scholarship, and it was the Culinary Institute of America, and I got accepted. And
where's that?
It's in there's 3 locations. There's one in Napa, one in Texas somewhere, and then one in like New York. Okay. I forgot where, or Hyde Park. And yeah, I was like, dude, I got into culinary school. I was like, honestly, like, I could go to college and be super in debt for a while, or I could learn a practical skill.
Full scholarship.
And yeah, no, it wasn't a full scholarship, but I mean, like, it was like 100.
Still paying a lot less.
The whole school was like 120,000, and for me, it was like 30,000.
Nice.
So it was still a significant scholarship, yeah. But yeah, I was like, you know, I'm gonna just take a risk. You know, if I like it, I like it. And I was like, you know, whatever. So I accepted it. And they're like, all right, but you need 2 years of culinary experience. Or actually, I think they changed it to 1 year when I started. But there, you need 1 year of actual culinary experience. And I was like, you know what? So I just started working in the kitchen, just
like
started applying. No, just started applying places, and I started out in North Hollywood.
Okay.
Worked at a couple like small places, barbecue restaurants, like diners, and then ended up moving to San Francisco, and I stayed with my sister for like a month. Got my own place, and my entire stay in San Francisco, I had 3 jobs. Literally ranging from like a deli to like a bar, and then like a higher quality bar, and then I just kept moving up, kept learning more, and everyone's like, "Oh, dude, you're a beast in the kitchen, you know, like you should come check this place out. We could use your help." And I just kept getting opportunities, and I was like, but I don't want to leave the deli that I'm working at. I really like the owner. He was super cool. So I was like, I'll just have 2 jobs. And then the third job happened. I was like, I don't want to leave the first 2. So I was like, I'm going to do a third job. And I'd get a free meal at every job, so I wasn't really spending any money on food.
And you were making money at all these jobs?
I was making money, yeah, exactly. And I was just learning new skills. You know, I've literally worked in every single kitchen station you can think of.
Wow.
So literally any station, salad, fryer, grill.
This is all before you went to that?
It was all before I went to culinary school, yeah. And then I got a super lucky break. Started working at Michael Mina, 1 Michelin star restaurant in San Francisco. Started working there, was loving it, and then someone else at the same week was like, "Oh, there's this place also in San Francisco. They just won a James Beard Award, and you should check that place out." Ended up becoming like the lead pastry chef there, and pastry was my whole goal in the beginning. So I ended up working there in that place, Michael Mina, and then I had a third job, and they were all food related, all in the kitchen.
Sweet.
And I did that literally for a couple days over a year. So like full year plus a couple days. And
I like that they do that. I like that they make you get a year of hands-on experience.
Yeah. Honestly, they took it out, unfortunately, for I'm pretty sure money reasons, which sucks.
Yeah, they want you in the school right away.
Yeah.
Start giving us money.
But yeah, after that year, honestly, like, it was like a week before I started school, I got an interview at another really famous bakery by Thomas Keller. I don't know if you guys heard of him.
Not familiar,
but he's one of like the best chefs, especially in the U.S.
Nice.
I think he has like the first or second best restaurant, like 9 Michelin stars.
So you're working under him?
I was, yeah. I was working under him. I worked there for 8 months at Bouchon Bakery. So that's a super famous bakery, again, by Thomas Keller. And
was he kind of your mentor for that 8 months?
Oh no, I saw him like once or twice.
Oh, okay.
He's like so like big. He wasn't like.
It's just his shop.
Yeah. But he's like definitely a talented chef, and like he deserves having all those places. When I started school and I started telling everyone I was working at Bouchon, everyone was like, "Oh, dude, sorry, you're gonna have to quit." And I was like, "Why do I have to quit?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, dude, it's gonna be way too much work. You're gonna break down." And I'm like, "Nah, dude, like I can work 2 jobs, like a job and school, no big deal." Mm-hmm. And they said that no one had lasted more than 4 weeks doing both at the same time, and I ended up doing it for like 16 weeks. So like it was hard as fuck.
And then you're like, "Okay, that's enough." Or
no. The only reason I quit was because I ended up getting I got scouted in Florida to go work at a chocolatier place, and I got hit up and they were just like,
"Where in Florida?"
Fort Myers.
Dude.
Yeah, I think we actually did talk about this.
Did we ever talk about this? Dude, I'm
yeah.
fucking over the hill.
I think we talked about it on New Year's, but yeah, Norman Love Confections. So I ended up working there for like 3 months and I absolutely hated Florida.
Fort Myers is rough.
Yeah,
I mean, I love it because I golf. Yeah. But if you don't golf, there's really nothing to do.
Yeah, there was nothing to do. I was only 20 years old, couldn't go to any bars.
Oh, no.
So it was miserable for me. But the actual place that I worked at, super talented people, famous chocolatiers.
What's it called?
Norman Love Confections.
Norman Love Confections.
Yeah. So I ended up working there for three-ish months. And then I just left and went back to Vegas. And that's where I started my life in Vegas.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So right before this, I moved back to LA in March, and before that, I lived in Vegas for 3 years.
Wait, so how long were you at that college then? Just the 16 weeks?
Yeah, no, the college and the job, I was there 8 months. I don't know where the 16 came from, but I was there. But I was at school.
You're doing both for 16 weeks?
for 8 months.
Okay.
I don't know why. I have no idea why I said 16 weeks. But it was 8 months.
So 8 months you were working both?
Yeah, it was 8 months that I worked both, and no one said I would last 4.
And then you graduated, and that's all it is an 8-month course?
I did not end up graduating school. I had 2 months left.
I was going to ask that. Yeah. Like, did you find you were learning more at the jobs?
I learned way more. I learned way more at the jobs. The only thing that school taught me was more like the science and like the theory essentially. Yeah, and I learned a lot, and I did a bunch of cool stuff. But they also made me taste like 3 different kinds of flours, or like 10 different kinds of flours. And tip of advice, they all taste like ass. They all taste like flour. They have different consistencies and like textures, but they're just
so
flour.
just little like science experiments to get your tongue trained.
So that was pretty much what culinary school was. Yeah, they taught you how to like do a bunch of stuff, but again, you learn more of that actually working and doing it in kitchens in like a real life setting than just like, oh, bake this cake, you know, like, yeah, they'll tell you to bake one cake, but your job is going to be like, okay, bake that cake like 20 times.
Yeah,
you're you do that 20 times and you're like, okay, that cake's easy. And then I went to school and they're like, bake that cake that you've baked a billion times and we'll grade you on it. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, and I just do it and like, oh, and I was passing with flying colors.
And then,
easy.
do you think that degree, what's it called, diploma that you get is kind of laughed at in the culinary world once you get out?
I wouldn't say necessarily laughed at, but the last 2 semesters that I had was like specialty breads, chocolatier, and I went to Florida and learned all that, so I didn't need to take that class anymore. Well, I didn't need to take it, but like the school would have made me. Specialty breads, chocolate, wine, and front of house, which is serving people.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't really need to learn any of that, and I already have the skills to work in other restaurants, and my resume alone would get me to work in like nice restaurants. So I was like, I don't need to go back to school.
Yeah.
But I do want to go eventually just to get that piece of paper, just to get it. But I don't think I need to go. No, not at all.
Yeah, I kind of am cut from the same cloth in that I went to an apprenticeship, an internship in my senior year in a recording studio, and I was like, I'm learning so much in this place. I mean, looking back, I still feel like I took it for granted and could have learned so much more had I actually not been a stupid 17-year-old. But I got to record such cool bands, and like you said, your muscle memory starts to get trained because you're doing the same thing over and over and over and comping vocals over and over and all the things that I still do to this day. I'm like, wow, I was like learning that in a really repetitive, sometimes it got tedious and annoying, especially for a young kid. But one of the biggest things I learned at the apprenticeship from my mentor was, you know, all they're going to teach you if you pay a bunch of money to go to that recording studio school is how to do this very quickly and in their method. And the thing about music is there's so many different ways to do different genres and different styles of recording, and someone might think this is the right way, whereas the rest of your whole demographic might not want that. So I was like, I pumped the brakes on going to school. I'm just gonna like keep recording bands and keep showing up to this studio and recording at this studio. And I ended up playing on some of the records that were coming through that studio. So yeah, like I think that that's an important lesson for people is like, especially kids, like, you know, don't always take the pressure from your parents that you have to go to school super literally, especially in the field of arts, because there's private lessons and courses that you could get for a lot cheaper, and you might not get that diploma, but a lot of times, especially in the music world, that diploma is kind of like you're just another one of those 8 million kids that got that diploma.
No one's asking.
The diploma is not going to actually make you better.
No one's ever asked a musician for their diploma. Never. No one's ever asked a filmmaker for their diploma. No. I don't know about you, but
I've never been
once asked
for
a chef for a diploma.
Yeah,
so
like
and not saying that it's not a good thing because we all got them.
Oh, it's a great thing,
right? Or I mean, we both did. I don't know. Did you say?
I didn't even end up going. No.
Right. And
a lot
honestly,
of my friends who did are done.
And
like
honestly, like good for you, man. Like you don't know all this fucking money.
Right. Right. And I mean, I'm sure you learned a lot by going and graduating too.
Of course.
A lot of things on the side that you wouldn't have known.
I'd much rather have gone and done that than been a kid who had the passion for it, decided to go and do something safe, and then never pursued the passion at all.
And that's fair too. And it's like paying for a personal trainer. It kind of leaves you accountable to actually own up to all that money that you're spending.
Yeah.
And makes you work out and become fit. It makes you invest in the gear to be a good filmmaker.
Right.
It makes you put that money to work on all the experience that you learned of like, all right, well, even if I think all of that was, you know, a little excessive on the money side and scammy, a lot of people do consider it scammy.
I love that.
I'm going to put it to work and I'm going to make sure that, you know, I at least got something out of it. So I'm just glad personally that I didn't, you know, spend a bunch of money on going to school. And now I have like a lot of great gear that I wouldn't have been able to afford had I gone to school too. So that's another thing is.
That's for.
Of course.
No worries.
And we're back. We had to have a little intermission after 30 minutes as all 3 of our cameras reset after 30 minutes. I know you guys have a lot of big, ambitious goals with the channel, and that's exciting because it has potential, I will say. It's got the tutorial element, which is huge, especially in the YouTube world, and me personally, I learned 90% of the stuff I learned. Not by going to school and spending a bunch of money, but just watching people and their own personalities, which you guys also kill. You do a really good job at explaining how to do something and doing it in a really formal way, but fun way. And I learned a lot from it. And if I can stress it to people, if you're working on your own YouTube channel or whatever platform, podcast, if you have it on Spotify or anything. I mean, me personally, I'm learning as I go, and to be of value is so important. And if you're showing people how to make these products, it's extremely valuable. But also, it makes you want to buy the products, which you guys are selling the products.
No, not really selling.
Not selling.
If you want to try it, more than happy to let people try them.
So you're literally just making these damn expensive...
Yeah, I mean, of course.
They're so expensive to make.
Yeah, I mean, I do ask people to kind of like donate to cover the cost because I do put a shit ton of weed in there and it does take a long time.
So is it because you can't legally sell them?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about that. Yeah,
So,
can't legally sell them. There's a lot of weed in those. They're very potent.
And
we do not sell any weed products because we don't have a license for it.
But you
We also
can
don't have a
legally
license.
give them away?
To the homies, yeah.
I mean, it's recreationally legal. As long as you're 21, you're allowed to consume marijuana
If
on your own.
I mean, you're allowed to make that decision for yourself. If our product, not even product, they're not products, right? It's if our
You're
food
allowed to
that
give
he
people
cooks.
cocktails if you're over 21, you know? Like,
Same thing, you know.
Okay,
but we just don't have a license to sell weed the same way we don't have a license to sell liquor.
Because that
you know?
license is friggin' hundreds of thousands of
Just
dollars.
to apply, it's like $12,000, right? Just
Right.
the application.
$1,200
Okay,
to apply.
$1,200
to
I was gonna
apply.
say, that makes a lot more
There's a
sense.
stimulus check.
Yeah, no, the actual license is like 60,000. It's somewhere
Wow.
around there, yeah.
Right, which I mean, you know, down the line.
Eventually, we'd love to
the
get a
goals
license
are
and actually
to.
sell.
I mean, this is a frontier. You know, there's a lot of opportunities here
For sure.
for everyone in this industry. It's just getting off the ground. It's just getting legalized in certain states. It's not even federally legal yet, but we're on that path. So, it's looking up. And as soon as I think people start to, I mean, it's already to the point where there's places selling it on the street that don't have licenses. They're like one of the places we go to. They don't have a license. They're operating as a smoke shop, and they just sell from the back. They just have a little menu on the counter.
You get on the app? Oh, okay.
No, you go in. They got a menu on the counter. You go up, and it's like they don't card anyone really at the door. But once you go to the back, they're like, "What's up? What's good?"
It's prohibition.
There you go. You know, and so and that's on a busy street corner in like a suburb. A suburb, like of the San
Yeah,
Fernando.
I'm sure a lot of them are just doing
Chilling.
it underground legally.
So I'm telling you, man. I don't think there's an issue with us taking donations and people.
I mean, we're not doing anything like crazy.
It's basically like a party donation. Hey, come to our party. You could donate for the cost of this party.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we were a little worried at first, but we actually now apparently have a lawyer.
Yeah, one of my friends, one of the people I used to work for when I first started cooking, he actually was training to be a lawyer, studying to be a lawyer, and I think he just recently passed his bar exam like a month or two ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, he gave us the lowdown.
So he knows all the regulations on it?
Well, he didn't know it yet, but he's going to
The
learn.
ever-changing regulations?
Yeah.
Right, the exacts. But I mean, from
That's the other
what he could tell us.
part is like this entire industry is just a gray zone. You know, no one really knows.
It's evolving so fast too.
You could dump a bunch of money into creating this business, and then they slap a new regulation. My friends are going through it in San Diego too, and it's like, it's rough. I hope the regulations only get calmer. Maybe through the pandemic, maybe through the technology the pandemic brings.
I think that humanity kind of is just evolving as well.
For sure.
And it's like people are opening their eyes to like how bad it really isn't, It's like it's literally just a plant, And that's also what I'm kind of trying to like show people with the channel is that it can be used as just like a little sprinkle on top of your food, and it can still be used in like a lot of things, and it's not the whole like dumbass stoner stereotype that
it's not the party drug that it used to be, for sure.
This is your brain on drugs, and it's like a scrambled egg in a pan.
Yeah, exactly. So that's also what I'm trying to show is like there's a lot of functioning stoners out there. It's not just like idiots who just smoke weed and sit on the couch all day.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. If anything, that's what like streaming has exposed a lot of. A lot of these podcasters are smoking weed.
Yeah. I mean, not just streaming, but like just in general. I think now since it was legalized, like, you found out everyone is like smoking.
Yes, I can't remember who said it, but
their mom and their grandma.
Yeah, most of these dispensaries are filled with boomers, or like people who haven't smoked in 20 years that are like, oh, that's 40 years. If it's legal now,
You got YouTube videos of grandma smoking with their.
I know, I've seen that.
Like the 3 generations.
I haven't seen that.
They rip a bong.
Rip the
bong.
This is pretty good.
Now, are you guys looking to have guests on future episodes? Is it going to be the same platform? It's on HighQuality Edibles?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so I'll kind of explain the structure, which we kind of evolved. It evolved from Jonathan, honestly. Like, we started kicking it again. And we ran into each other and started kind of cross paths, like, a few years ago. Yeah. And we'd, like, invite each other to, Jonathan would be in town. He was living in Vegas.
Since I was in Vegas, too.
But it was cool to reconnect. And it was always like, dude, bro, like, you're, like, basically like my godbrother. We are godbrothers, Like, our parents were,
His parents are my godparents.
We grew up together all through elementary school, even middle school. And then, so I was like, man, like, we got to hang out more. And then so this year I hit him up, and I think he missed my message like a few times, and then all of a sudden he was like, oh shit, wait, like
and we finally ended up kicking one day, and we were chilling. I don't even think the channel came up in the beginning, but eventually I was like, I'm actually trying to start a channel, like making videos on how to teach people to make edibles, kind of inform people on like dosing, and Evan was like, I can help you with that, he has a film background, and I was just like, oh, like, interesting, like...
Which the production, by the way,
like, dude,
the audio.
In the beginning, it really came very natural, almost like just sort of like a growing... Felt like just like sort of an organism, like just evolving on its own. Like, we just really didn't even need to do much other than just kind of talk. Mm-hmm. And as it went from Jonathan asking me questions about the iPhone... How to shoot on, like, what should I use?
I was initially going to film the first ice cream episode just on my phone by myself.
How can I get, like, a cheap light? And I was like, dude, like, I'm unemployed, bro. Like, I'll go. Like, I'll shoot it for you, man. And then I went from that to realizing, like, that we can really create this channel and structure it in a way to be very different, not just a tutorial, which alone, like, what he is teaching you, what we are teaching you now, because now I'm involved in the and what's cool is becoming involved in that educational process. I'm both learning about it, which is something these are skills that I've taken from my last company where I was interviewing people, and I'm learning about it myself, and then now I'm finding out the easiest way to communicate it to you as the filmmaker.
Yeah, that's your job.
Basically, but I got many jobs. We both have like 21 hats each.
Right.
I mean, but what's cool is that we each fill in each space perfectly. It feels like just like a puzzle piece just going into place. Because again, like the left and right brain, like I'm solving all of the creative issues, the problems, as the film, all of that. But on top of it, it's like the marketing side of our business is the way I see myself. Like I'm the salesman. I literally ran a sales company. It was just with video. And we were doing high ticket sales for businesses.
Really?
Businesses selling products upwards of our videos. One of the last videos I made was for a company called Agora Financial, a $2 billion like informational. It's the top information company in the United States. They do this stuff for like Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins and shit. And I did a video for them, and like they put $100K in it behind it, like on YouTube, $100K on like an advertisement. I had to make sure that shit was like. I had to make sure that we're saying the right things. I had to make sure we're selling the thing, because if we're putting $100K into that thing, that better make money, Mm-hmm. And all I feel like is we're doing it in a different way now. Like we're finding really cool and interesting ways to sell our shit. Like sell our idea, sell our creations. our high quality edibles.
Yeah, and like I said, it's informative and it's your own. It's got your guys' own like personality to it, and it flows really well. It's like, and even for people who don't smoke weed or don't, want to, like, I no longer am really into it anymore. It keeps me up all night and makes me anxious from time to time. But I'm entertained watching how to do it, and I know that it's a huge business, multi-billion-dollar potential business. And it's intriguing to just, see how things are made. And so anyone who's like not even into weed, check it out. Check out how they do it. And not only how they make the food, but how they make videos, because it's
honestly, the production value is incredible.
Yeah.
I never thought it would ever look like that in my head.
That's what I'm saying.
It's awesome. It's awesome to be able to see what he sees through my lens and then show it to you.
Become even better than what I saw.
Right.
Like, my vision, I was like, all right, it's going to look like this. And Evan was like, but it could look like this. And I was just like, whoa, I didn't even think it could look that good.
Yeah, and on top of it, we're throwing in the sketches, right? We're throwing in, and what you mentioned, which I wanted to circle back to, is the guests. I want to answer that. That's the part that really evolved towards the end, was realizing how much we can make this into not just a tutorial. And that's where some people were saying, you got just make a tutorial. But then you have a lot more people saying, no, like, what you guys are doing is dope. You guys are doing something new. Yes, you're giving us a tutorial, but we have this sort of structure where you're getting a funny little comedic bit in the beginning. You're getting a little story thrown in there, a little backstory behind what we're cooking.
Sure.
Then at the end,
That's always fun.
It's fun, right? And it's a cool way to introduce it, and it's creative. And then at the end, you've got the
guys actually eating it and trying it.
Yeah, it's the first one was me, Jonathan, and our my roommate Cameron.
That's why I thought,
who's been one of my like biggest film partners.
Yeah, first thing I said. So is Cam the guest on this one? Because he just pops up.
Essentially, he's our creative. He's one of our creative producers. He's the guy that was always hanging out while we're talking. He's always there because he's my roommate. But on top of it, he's also a filmmaker. He works in Warner Brothers Studios, and we started working together since way back. And since I was doing a short film, in college, and I went to the film club, and he was the kid there. So it felt right to start our first episode with just like the team that put this together. And he put a lot of ideas into play as far as what we could do with like the brunch that we're going to have on episode 2, as far as what we could do with this talk show and how we could have more guests on. And he kind of pushed for that. And we kind of saw like, oh, no, you're right. We weren't really sure whether or not to go for that. But then we realized, absolutely. And we could even turn that into a podcast that could have it, because of course these episodes we want them to be concise. We don't want the podcast to drag too long, because that alone could be an hour, right, with certain guests.
For sure, yeah.
But then that's when I started to talk with them about, wait a second, we could do this podcast format. Yeah, let's have a guest over every time, a different guest. They can be in the sketch if they want. We can bring them through the kitchen.
And the tutorials are so to the point and well produced that that portion's only 7-8 minutes long.
Yeah, potentially it'll run anywhere from that long to like 10, 12 if it's a longer recipe.
Sure.
But yeah, absolutely. And then so we have this time to sit down with someone, and it can still be a very concise episode, under 20 minutes, 15-ish. And we cut down into the highlights on our official high quality edible tutorial, show is what we're calling the cooking show, right? Which it's different than any cooking show, and it's different than any tutorial in the way that tutorials are typically just cut and dry DIY. Yeah. Whereas cooking shows, not DIY at all.
This is like a brief cooking show.
Exactly. It's a tutorial show infused with a cooking show. Because you can't have a cooking show and learn anything on it, because it's all about entertainment. So people are yelling at each other, and they're like racing for the timer and shit like that. And it's more about like the chaos and like the personalities, and they take over to the point where you're like, oh man, I wish I knew how to make that.
Yeah, no, that's one thing I don't like about trash TV, is they're always looking for a conflict. Right. And I don't always want to see a conflict.
No. It's like, damn, that looks really cool. How do I make that?
I want to learn something and be inspired.
Yeah, and
trash TV never does that for me. Since MTV stopped showing music, literally nothing on TV.
You watch the Great British Baking Show, whatever the hell that is, and you're sitting there and you're going like, man, and then you just realize that like the tools they're using, everything that they're using, you're just like, man, there's no way I could ever do that. And that's the opposite of what we want to do. We want to like democratize these like gourmet sort of things and just give them to you and say, here. And most people probably the majority of our users are never going to make these things, but they're
that's what I was getting at. Is you don't even need to like be inspired to make these or have the money. I'm sure it costs a lot to make freaking pistachio weed ice cream.
Actually, you're surprised.
Really?
You would definitely.
That's another thing. Maybe you should. Well, you do mention how much it costs to make the whole thing.
Yeah. It's honestly really cheap. Just
for the ingredients.
The weed is the most the costly part. That's honestly what's the biggest cost on every recipe. All the recipes actually cost less than like $5 to $10.
But I mean, even the weed, like if you're just doing one batch,
you're
using
one batch.
8 grams, 7 grams, it's only gonna run you like what, like $70-ish, $80.
Yeah,
so 100 for depending on where you get it from.
Fair.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's awesome. I learned a lot more just now, and I'm excited to see what guests you guys get on. I'm excited to see the future episodes.
Seth Rogen, we're coming for you.
Seth Rogen, the guy from High Maintenance.
Oh, the guy,
Ben Sinclair.
Well,
we want you.
Maybe if I finally get my big break and we do something early enough, maybe I can be one of your guests on one of these.
Oh, hell yeah, bro.
And you guys could all see how nerdy and weird I get when I am under the influence. But I don't know how long we've been doing this, but this was really fun.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I would love to just plug our next episode, which is coming out.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll go for I'll become my salesman alter ego. So we're doing a second episode. It's coming out probably sometime next week. So like probably about 10 days from.
So this will probably be out by the time this is out.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's coming out about 10 days or so because we're shooting it this weekend, and I'm just gonna rush to get it out because this one I'm super stoked about. So I know I'm gonna want to edit through it ASAP. Yeah. So we had the idea to do a brunch, like inspired episode.
Oh, so that's the thing we shot the skit for today.
Right. Yeah. So so Mike, you were in the skit.
Starring me. No, I'm in the background.
And Sienna.
Sticking out like a sore thumb.
So it's an office themed skit, and it leads into us becoming so stressed and overwhelmed that this is now like our job to like do this. We're like, this is what we signed up for. We just wanted to get baked.
Nice.
Yeah. # baked. So all of a sudden, it leads into this brunch, which we're going to be doing on Sunday. And we had the idea to do we wanted to have a bunch of people come and try this because it's going to be
so just
tasty.
Multiple products.
Well, no, actually, it's the
actually
hollandaise.
going to be like an actual brunch, like meal, which we're doing eggs Benedict.
Ooh.
But the infused part is the hollandaise.
Yeah, so I'm going to infuse the hollandaise, and I'm also going to do like infused like breakfast potatoes, just fucking cuz.
Nice.
Just because I know I can.
So we're having 3 different groups of homies that we know from different walks of life. 2 from high school back in the day, since we're in our hometown, and a third that we actually just met. She tried our ice cream, I think, and she like loved it, and she wants to bring all it. She's actually coming to LA. Like she hit us up. She's like, "What do you got for me? Like I'm ready. Like empty my wallet. Like let's go." So there's a lot of people that are already super like on board to like go all in on
for
this.
sure.
It's crazy.
I'm not surprised.
So she's literally hitting me up. When are we opening a weed themed restaurant or something? When are we opening an infused restaurant? So now we're gonna have them all over to Jonathan's place, serve them all within like around 4:20 on Sunday. So it's gonna be a late brunch. At the end, we have our buddy Jordan coming through. Jordan Nussestuen, fire twirler, like legit. And so we're gonna be all baked as fuck on Jonathan's front lawn, watching him like twirl fire. Well, I'm excited to see how this goes down because we're filming this before it happens and we're releasing it after it happens. So you can probably go check it out right now. Episode 2 of High Quality Edibles, a THC infused brunch. Absolutely. Does that wrap it up? That wraps it up pretty good. Pretty much wraps it up. Thank you so much for having us, man.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to watch your podcast grow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're an awesome host.
Oh, and by the way,
thanks. I'm trying.
Your little like music thing like that you had, where like and subscribe, watch our YouTube. Absolutely loved it, dude.
Oh, thanks.
You have an amazing voice too, by the way.
Oh, thank you guys.
Creativity level 11, dude.
Yeah, very catchy, very great everything.
Oh, you guys don't need to pump my tires. I'm conceited enough. No, thank you for having me at your beautiful apartment again and again here.
You're welcome.
I'm excited to see what happens, and congrats on the release. And let's keep it coming. We're really doing it. Evan and Chef Jon of High Quality Edibles. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
And that does it, folks. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of State of My Art Podcast. Big thanks to Evan and Chef Jon of HighQuality Edibles. I'm really excited to see where this adventure goes. Big thanks to Vocalies, as always, for supporting our voices. And thank you for checking out this episode of State of My Art Podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, give it a like or a follow or a subscribe wherever you're hearing this or watching this. I really appreciate you. Thank you again, Chef Jon and Evan, and thank you all. We will see you next week for another episode of State of My Art Podcast.